Welcome back. I know it's been a while, but luckily everything's been going nice and smooth on the truck here. That 2011 F-150. Unfortunately, as you can see here, we did have a problem with the brakes. Last time we put on these slotted drilled performance rotors and pads. However, we did have one of our calipers fail. This caused it to go and rub in on not release. And so you got a lot of rubbing and grinding here, basically destroyed the rotor. So we're going to get to work replacing this caliper as well as replacing the pads and rotors. So we're doing this again, but also doing the calipers. The first thing you want to do, there's two 13mm bolts on here on the caliper on this side and this side. We'll go and take those off, and then once we got those off, we can get the caliper free, get the pads free, get that caliper compressed, get the rotor off, and then we can put in the new rotor, put on the new caliper, and go through the whole bleeding process with all that. And we can get our new pads in and get ready to go. So I'm going to go and start getting that off and check back here in just a second. So we just got the caliper off. Just go and pull those two bolts, wiggled it loose, and it's going to show you what to go and inspect here. If you run into a bad caliper, I'll identify it. So there was a little bit of a grinding noise. If you look at it, here's the pad that is on the outside. It is pretty much nothing, and you can see where it ground in. If you can pop the one on the other side, you'll see it's still nice and full of meat. And that's because that's the side that's just over there, not being pressed on. And then you have this one where the caliper did not want to go in, and that ended up just being constant braking pressure, grinding, hard braking, a little bit of a rattle, started having hard takeoff. And this happened after about maybe about 10 miles driving, 20 miles driving, that I actually ended up having those symptoms start and getting this bad. So it can happen pretty quickly. Alright, so now we got to get the caliper bracket off. See right over here, these is a 13/16. Got one on the top, one on the bottom. Let's get those off. This caliper bracket off, and now you're free to get the rotor. This one isn't too bad, but when they are kind of stuck, there's this little bolt hole you got to get. Just get a longer bolt to thread into it, screw it in. The pressure will actually push it off. This one we already had taken off beforehand, so it's not too tight. It seemed to pop right off. But when it was on there from the factory originally, we had to go and use that bolt hole to get that popped off. Remember from the previous video. We'll go and get that popped off. Go and get the new rotor put on, get the new bracket put on, and then we'll go and get the caliper switched out. We can start doing the hydraulic work. Alright, so we got the new rotors and the caliper bracket on. Did go ahead and use the brand new Raybesros calipers with brackets. They did change up the actual bolt for the calipers to the brackets to a 14 instead of a 13. We're going to have our got a little nut for the hydraulic line loosened up already. Best to go and do that while it's still attached to the bracket before you take it off. Otherwise, it can be a real pain with it moving around. So now we're going to go and get this taken off. We're going to go and get the new caliper put in and then get it bolted up. We're going to start with the bleeding process. Alright, we got the new caliper put in with the hydraulic line. You can see there's two copper washers there. One's going to go on the inside towards the caliper. The other's going to go on the side of the line where the banjo bolt is. So we have this hooked in, ready to go. Where brake fluid can make kind of a mess, good to have something to catch it with. So we're going to go and bolt this up, go and get the shoes put on, or the pads put on. Make sure you get all the Sylglide on them, and then after that, move to the next side, and we can start with the bleeding of everything. Alright, so we got the all the Sylglide here, put all over the pads, especially on the sides, on the top and the bottom. You know, that way it will reduce any noise and keep it all nice and quiet when you're driving. On these particular ones, they're the Stoptech the street performance pads. These guys actually don't have any wear indicators on them, which is kind of a bad thing, but if you're checking over your car or truck fairly regularly and just keep an eye on it, you shouldn't go and have to worry. Otherwise, if you have a failure like the caliper failure I had, you're going to go and have notice that when it's too bad. So just keep an eye on your stuff and you'll be all right. I'll put the part numbers for everything in here for the calipers and the pads for the rotors. I'll put all that in the description. That way you know what to buy, where to buy it at. Don't get any kind of commission or kickback or anything from it. Just want you to know what we're using in case you want to use the same thing. These rotors and pads are real good. Use them going drive across the country, towing a trailer. Things stopped on a dime. Worked great up until the point the calipers gave way, but got some newer bestest calipers, not remanufactured, right here. We're going to bolt those back up, move on to the other side. But yeah, we're just about wrapping up with this part, and I will go and do the bleeding part in just a little bit. Alright, we just wrapped up bleeding the brakes. Sorry I didn't take a video of that part. It ends up being a two-man job, even with a fancy pump brake bleeders and all that we tried. But you gotta make sure you have your reservoir full. Get a little bleeder container similar to this. This is a little tube going into it. Has it running down. There's other ones you can get. This one came with a pump style. It's supposed to be a one-man job. Wasn't working that great, so basically going to take the one end of it, hook it onto the nipple there. You want to make sure you keep this above, so somewhere up here, and then you go and have that end plugged into it. So pump the brakes like about 3 times, hold them down, then you crack open that bleeder valve right over here. You have that cracked open, fluid will start coming out, air will start coming out, and you repeat that as necessary until there is no more air coming out. Gotta top it off, make sure this doesn't get too low. If this runs dry, you gotta bleed the whole system front and back. It is not fun, but yeah, there's other videos you can look for how to bleed brakes properly, but that's a simplified version of it. Go and make sure you go and have a little container like that. Clear tubing's a must. Takes a few minutes. Wasn't too bad to start with the side which is furthest away, which is going to be on our passenger side in our trucks. Then you move over here to the driver's side. Anyways, that's it for now. I'll be checking in next time we have something. Now we got to go bed the brakes in. It's kind of the fun part.